the oldest artifacts in America. We're the original Cherokee, Hopi, Moors here, and we left this continent and went over to Africa, built pyramids over there. That's why nobody on the planet Earth can build a pyramid today, because it's locked in our DNA. Now, of course, we went through, as we all know, through slavery, 430 years. We only came out in 1985. Hasn't been that many years since that time. You know, and as I mentioned yesterday, the book that we call the Bible, or the Biblios, which means book, Quran means to read, you know, there's a compilation of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Sanskrit, Vagina, you know, the Norse information. So no matter where you go on the planet Earth, their gods and goddesses are us. That's why I share with people, when they talk about the New World Order, be careful. The New World Order is us when we wake up. Like you said a minute ago, all that's just a recycling of, they say, oh, they listen to our phone calls. Well, they've been doing that since slavery. Oh, they banking system. Well, they've been doing that. All that stuff is old. They're old.
Yep.
Old base. The only Novus Ordo Seclorum, New World Order, with the pyramid with the eye on the dollar bill, which is our seal. That is our official seal put on by Benjamin Banneker, who taught George Washington, Benjamin Franklin. It's funny you mentioned about the Moorish stuff. Like I said, I was Hakeem's assistant, Hakeem Bey with Moorish.
Okay.
Because I'm familiar with all that law stuff as well.
Good. We want to know.
We can definitely dive into that whenever you're ready. But, that's why I said when I moved here, I was looking for what they call, I guess, the so-called Black Mecca. One thing I think we got to, one thing I learned from the Moors, or the Moors teaching is, we got to, from a legal or a social level, get out of the habit of calling black and white, because nobody's white.
Yes.
They're either pink or peach or tan or pale, or just like we're brown or tan or caramel. So, you know what I'm saying? So that's why we call ourselves Moors, because Moor, they know, is nobility. You know, the rich people on this continent, United States of America, the oldest people here, as quiet as it's kept. As I mentioned yesterday, the Mayan civilization, which predated what we call Indians, because there's Indians and there's Native Americans. If you take, say, 100 of us that was born in America, called so-called African American, who everybody still or continues to try to look down at, even though we entertain them, even though every major invention in America, from the cell phone, the computer, the hairline wires, and I'm giving you some updated stuff, not some old stuff. Okay. The transmission in the car, standard as well as automatic. You know, I did a article when I first worked for Sprint video conferencing on how Lewis Latimer really was the inventor of the light as well as the phone. He was with Thomas Edison and Graham Bell. He's the one that went to D.C. to present the presentation to get the patent for Thomas Edison and all they did was pay the money. They might have, you know what I'm saying? We designed New York City. That's why Wall Street was set up by us. Chicago was set up by us. Los Angeles, you in Outland. Don't get funny. You know what I'm saying? This is but we just don't know it. That's why if we do not create our own school systems, our own factories, let's look at the industry of footwear and bagwear. We're so used to wearing Gucci and Jordans, all other kind of stuff. When we the main inventors, we the most creative people in the universe. I mean, not planet Earth, but in the universe. I don't care what aliens come here or whomever. It's all good. All due respect to all others. I didn't get a chance to go into the whole concept of Adam, which you had mentioned about the menses, the period, which is for a woman to take a period into herself, to study her sciences and stuff. That's the time that she takes to herself. When the universe and the egg or the planets are kind of revolving through herself. The word Adam, which is the original people, means first blood. Dam in Hebrew means blood. The first blood. You know what I'm saying? So, and then that's why I say, what is it, Genesis, and everybody should look it up. Genesis 5:2 says, male and female, and call their name Adam. So the question becomes, well, who's Eve? Eve is all others. Like, remember I mentioned yesterday about the RNA. The Europeans, what would you call the yellow race, or the Caucasians, so on and so forth. This is facts. It's biological, as well as Mendel's law of biology, so on and so forth. The concept is, once we find out who we got to stop worrying about everybody else. Industry. It was Jan Matzlinger who invented the first shoe machine. We're worried about, like I said, all due respect to Chinese, Japanese, wherever they're making these shoes at $1, we need to really take these athletes and entertainers and say, look, man, you need to build factories. I don't care if China charges a quarter. You need to bring that in. You need to build factories right here in America, make some clothes, make some shoes, make some basic dietary, like toothbrush and all kinds of stuff. Make that ourselves. I know about 1985, the Nation was an organization called Power. People organized working for economic rebirth. This was 1985. So when you think about all the different inventions, like the escalator, the elevator, all the stuff that George Washington Carver did. Haile Selassie, who we call Rasta. My uncle was one of the founders, the Howlites, of that movement back in the 1930s. Haile Selassie said in 1940 he wanted to put his money behind African Americans to set up schools throughout the United States because we were the foundation of the Industrial Revolution. It was the computer revolution. So all these people come and get misinformed when they come here from other countries. Like I said, it's all good. Once we realize who we are, and I talked about it yesterday. That's why I said, I think they'll call me Dr. Ben. I'm just basic brother, or you can call me Rebbe, or they do call me Professor. We need to set up those 12, and we need to have our own security force. We don't forget the biopower guns and all that kind of stuff. We have electromagnetic energies within us can stop all that stuff with the best that we can even imagine. I was in the Marine Corps about all that kind of stuff. We don't need it. You know what I mean? We need to have our own investment club in some type of incubation system. If we set up Wall Street, guess what? They learned a lot of stuff from us. Do you know if we put the money in there, well, it's already crashed anyway. So it's already a sign that it has to be redone anyway. If we take our money and begin to make it revolve, that's why I talk about the 12 so much. In the government, you have a Department of Defense, you have a Department of Treasury, you have a Department of Education, Department of Housing, Department of State, which is like ambassadors, Department of Agriculture, the Department of Justice, Department of Commerce, Department of Transportation, Department of Labor, Department of Energy, Department of Health. We have to pull ourselves together. And I said in my class, I kind of adjusted it to say, okay, instead of a Department of Defense, we have a security force and a cadet program for young men and young women, which deals with scouting, drilling, stepping, high sciences, history, so on and so forth. Instead of having a Department of Treasury, we set up like a SUSU where we can kind of put our money aside every month. That's one thing about Masonry is that you pay, whether it's $10 or $20 every month, and just keep putting it on my West Indian side of my family, like Mexicans and Koreans do. They meet once a week. Like the churches still do it. You put money, whether it's $1, $5, $10, and you begin to put that in some type of pillow sack, or you can't even put them in the banks anymore because the banks are falling.
Okay.
Some kind of investment type of club or some type of credit union where we kind of pull our resources. It don't necessarily be money or credit either. It could be just like resources that we put together. We need to get our own little charter schools, not chartered by the state, but chartered from our own spiritual temple. Or in a constitution, church is separate from state, whatever you want to call it, church or temple or mosque or synagogue. A lot of our churches, they get caught up and they jump back in the bed with the state, and then C3 or 501c4. They control it, so they give it to you. They say if they fund you, they have fun with you. So then they can go and investigate.
The preachers, that's how they get so many millions of dollars, the big mega preachers here, because the what they call that program that Condoleezza Rice and Bush and them established, where they give them millions of dollars, but they cannot talk about politics. They can't wake up the people.
They can't talk about it. Probably in a minute, tomorrow they're going to tell me you can't talk about Jesus either. You can't talk about the...
They want them to believe. They got them believing Jesus is going to come back out the sky and save them. They will not discuss Bush and the policies of Bush. If they want to take this money, so they take those millions of dollars, and if you notice, Eddie Long, Creflo Dollar, they talk about a prosperity-based ministry. They will not break down the things that you and I are talking about on this show, because they know it's a faith-based initiative. That's what it's called. And even at Eddie Long Church, I have talked to some people that know members that go there. If they get in a bind and they have a problem with their light bill or they get ready to get put out, Eddie Long them will give them a loan. Now, when them people give Eddie Long them that money at them churches because they believe in God's work and they say God said you got to tithe, they don't say this is a loan, preacher, but they give them small amounts of money, not what they need, and then they have to pay it back